Have you ever wondered why being good so often feels like a punishment? Why the smooth path you pave for others becomes a rocky road for yourself? You smile, you nod, you agree, while something deep inside you begins to erode. It is a familiar, silent ache, the pain of being dependable to everyone except to yourself. You are the bridge, meticulously built with your own empathy and sacrifice, so that others may cross the raging rivers of life with ease. You lay each stone with your patience, your understanding, your neglected needs. But once they reach the other side, few turn back to admire the engineering. They only remember that the passage was smooth. Your sacrifice becomes an expectation. Your kindness becomes an obligation. Your presence becomes assumed. This is the silent erosion of the soul, the paradox of the good person in the modern world. You trade respect for affection. In an endless campaign to be liked, you forget that you must also be revered. We are taught a beautiful lie, that to be liked is to be successful, that popularity is the key to the kingdom. But this is a dangerous illusion, a comforting mirage in the desert of reality. Love is a fickle currency, its value determined entirely by the whims and interests of others. It is a chain they forge and a chain they can break whenever it suits them. But there is another currency, an ancient, primal force, a currency that is terrifyingly stable. That currency is fear. No, not the fear of a bloodthirsty monster, not the terror of mindless cruelty. It is the fear that is born of respect, the fear of crossing boundaries that you have set in stone, the fear of losing the privilege of being in your world, the fear of facing the absolute certainty of consequence. It is the power you have been searching for, but our society has given it a more intimidating name. Centuries ago, amidst the chaos and relentless conspiracies of Florence, an exiled diplomat and thinker put this forbidden truth to paper. He showed the world that in the game of power, the foundations of fear are far more reliable than the fragile chains of love. His name was Niccolò Machiavelli, and the lesson he teaches is not just brutal. For those who wish to command their destiny, it is necessary.
To understand the depth of this philosophy, we must see Machiavelli not as a devil, but as a ruthless anatomist of the human soul. He lived and breathed the world of 15th and 16th century Florence, a city of breathtaking beauty and lethal conspiracies. Machiavelli was no isolated academic in an ivory tower. He was a high-ranking diplomat. He walked the highest corridors of political power, negotiating with kings and organizing armies. He knew the game from the inside. And then, in a sudden shift of political fortune, he fell. He lost everything: his status, his wealth, his freedom. He knew betrayal intimately. He was tortured, and in the quiet of his exile, he had the time and the clarity to observe the raw mechanics of power, stripped of all its pleasantries. He did not write to tell us how the world should be. He wrote to show us how it is. His infamous book, The Prince, is not a book of sermons. It is a field guide to reality, a map for navigating a world where wolves often wear the fleece of sheep. And at the heart of this guide lies a question that has haunted kings, generals, and ambitious leaders for 500 years. The same question that speaks directly to the pain we described. Machiavelli writes, "Upon this a question arises, whether it is better to be loved than feared, or the reverse. The answer is that one would like to be both, but because it is difficult to combine them, it is far safer to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Let us decode this together. This is not just a sentence. It is an entire paradigm of human dynamics. First, why is love so unreliable? Love, Machiavelli says, is bound by a chain of obligation, a chain that looks beautiful and strong as long as the weather is fair. But men, he states, are ungrateful, fickle, pretenders and dissemblers, and greedy of gain. The moment their self-interest is at stake, they will break that chain of obligation without a second thought. See this brutal analysis in your own life. This is the friend who is loyal only so long as they need you. This is the partner or colleague who praises you only as long as it serves their agenda. Their love is an investment, and when the returns stop, they divest. You are left with the ghost of a chain you thought was gold, but was merely ice.
But fear? Fear is a different story. Fear, Machiavelli argues, is sustained by an internal, ever-present factor, the dread of punishment. This dread is not a fleeting emotion, it is a constant calculation in the mind of the other person. Here is the critical point. Love is a gift given to you by others, and they can revoke it at any moment. It cedes control to them. But fear is armor you forge yourself. The control remains with you. Others love you because they feel good about you, but they fear you. They respect you because they know that crossing you has a cost. One is based on shifting sentiment, the other is based on certain knowledge. Which do you choose to build your house on? And it is here, at this very point, that most people get Machiavelli disastrously wrong. They equate fear with hatred. This is a fatal mistake, and one that Machiavelli himself warns against. He explicitly and repeatedly states, a prince must, above all else, avoid being hated. Why? Because hatred unites your enemies. It gives them a righteous cause. Hatred is a force that works against you. The fear he describes is a force that works for you. So what is this fear? The fear Machiavelli speaks of is awe. It is the feeling you have when standing before a great and powerful force of nature, a vast mountain or a stormy ocean. You do not hate the mountain, but you know it cannot be moved. You know that to ascend it requires preparation and respect for its rules. You do not hate the ocean, but you know its power is absolute, and if you challenge it recklessly, it will break you. This is Machiavellian fear in the modern world. It is the knowledge in others that you are a person of substance and will, that your word carries weight, that your principles are non-negotiable. It is not a fear of your personality, it is a fear of the logical, predictable consequences of violating your principles. The key, then, to escaping the paradox of the good person is this: stop begging for love and start building the architecture of respect, a structure built with the cement of healthy fear and the bricks of unshakable resolve. This is the revelation Machiavelli gives us. True power does not reside in the hearts of others. It resides in their minds, in their understanding of who you are, and more importantly, of what you will not tolerate. This knowledge, this revelation is our key, and now it is time to learn how to use it to unlock the doors of modern life.
So we hold the key in our hands. Machiavelli's brutal revelation that fear, born of respect, is the bedrock of lasting power, not fleeting affection. But a key is useless without a map. An abstract philosophy, until it is applied, is merely an ornament for the mind. Our task now is to take this ancient wisdom from the dusty pages of history and forge it into a sharp, precise toolkit for life in the 21st century. This knowledge can be distilled into 5 practical laws of power. These are not moral sermons, they are mechanics of influence.
Listen carefully, for each law is a plate of armor you are about to put on. Law number 1, the law of consequence. This is the most fundamental law. Your boundaries, until they are bound to consequences, are nothing more than imaginary lines in the sand, waiting for the first wave to wash them away. The good person constantly announces their boundaries. Please don't do that again. I don't appreciate that kind of behavior. This is the last time. But these words, without action, are just background noise. They send a signal of weakness, that you are willing to tolerate the violation as long as it comes with a small apology. Healthy fear is born from the knowledge that every action has a certain and unavoidable reaction. You must cease to be a narrator of your boundaries and instead become a force of nature. The rain does not warn that it is about to fall. It simply falls. Gravity does not threaten to pull you down. It simply does. Consider the workplace. The boss who consistently asks you to work late, unpaid. The good person groans internally, but ultimately accepts, hoping to win favor. But this only reinforces a pattern. Your time has no cost. The person who understands the law of consequence responds calmly. I can certainly help with that extra project. Just forward me the email approval from HR for the overtime hours. See the power in this. You did not argue. You were not aggressive. You simply attached a natural, systemic consequence to an unreasonable request. From now on, your boss will calculate the cost before they ask. In personal relationships, imagine the friend who is always late. The good person waits for half an hour, greeting them with a forced smile. The consequence? Nothing. So why would the behavior change? The powerful person, after one prior warning, waits for exactly 10 minutes and then leaves. The consequence? They lose the privilege of your company. Your action is the message. One decisive act speaks with more thunder than 1,000 repeated warnings. Define your territory not with words, but with calm, definite consequences.
Law number 2, the law of controlled scarcity. That which is abundant is devalued. This is a fundamental law of economics, and it is brutally true in the social economy of respect. The good person's affection is abundant and cheap. It is given away freely. Their replies are instant. Their validation is complimentary. Their presence is constant. As a result, their value in the social marketplace plummets. You must turn your presence, your attention, and your validation into scarce, valuable commodities. This is not about being arrogant or playing games. It is about understanding the infinite value of your most finite resources, your time and your energy. Think of your digital communication. An instant reply to every message signals total availability. It implies you have no priority more pressing than responding to the demands of others. Strategic silence is a tool of power. When you don't respond immediately, you send the signal that you are focused on something important. When you do respond, your words carry more weight because they have been considered. Do not dispense your approval cheaply. The good person, and their need to be liked, praises everything and everyone. As a result, their praise becomes meaningless. The powerful person is economical with their praise. They give it only when it is genuinely earned. As a result, when they do offer a compliment, it feels like a medal of honor. Others will strive to earn it. Do not be overly available. Being present at every meeting, every social gathering, makes you part of the furniture. Sometimes your absence must be felt. Let others experience the void of you not being there so they might appreciate the value of you being there. You are a finite resource. Treat yourself like one, and the world will be forced to follow suit.
Law number 3, the law of virtù over fortuna. This law is the beating heart of Machiavelli's philosophy of self-reliance. To grasp it, we must understand two key terms. The first is fortuna, often translated as fortune or luck, but its deeper meaning is all the forces outside of your control, the economy, the decisions of others, and yes, their fickle love and loyalty. The second is virtù, often mistranslated as virtue. Machiavelli's virtue has nothing to do with morality. It means skill, competence, boldness, strength of will, and the ability to impose order onto chaos. The good and weak person bases their life strategy on fortuna. They hope their boss will notice their hard work. They hope their partner will remain loyal. They hope circumstances will turn in their favor. They have outsourced their life to chance. The powerful person relies on their virtù. They don't hope their boss notices them. They become so skilled and indispensable that their boss has no choice but to value them, lest the enterprise suffer. They don't hope others will like them. They build a character of such charisma and competence that others are naturally drawn to them. Stop hoping for loyalty and start building necessity. Become so good at what you do that you are impossible to ignore. Work on yourself, mentally and physically, so relentlessly that you become a source of stability and inspiration for those around you. Your power should not be derived from their approval, but from the undeniable void your absence would create. Fortuna is a whimsical goddess who may or may not grant you her favor. Virtù is the sword you forge yourself, and it is always in your hand. Trust your own steel, not the whims of the gods.
Law number 4, the law of calculated appearance. This is the most subtle and therefore one of the most powerful of the laws. It is also the most misunderstood. Machiavelli advises the prince that he must appear to be merciful, faithful, humane, sincere, and religious, but have his mind so prepared that when the occasion requires it, he can change to the contrary. The naive read this as a simple instruction for hypocrisy. The masters of strategy understand it as the mastery of emotional regulation. This law is about the complete separation between your internal emotional state and your external strategic display. A storm may rage within you, anger, fear, uncertainty, but on the surface you are a calm, deep lake. Imagine a leader in a corporate crisis who appears panicked and anxious. They transmit that uncertainty to their entire team, amplifying the chaos. Now imagine a leader facing the same crisis who appears calm, focused, and decisive. This composure radiates a powerful aura of control. Others, in their uncertainty, will anchor themselves to your stability. They don't trust you because they like you. They trust you because you seem to have the situation under control. This calculated appearance is a source of respectful fear. When others cannot read your true emotional state, they cannot predict your next move. This uncertainty makes them cautious. They will think twice before challenging you, because they do not know if they will be met with a gentle lamb or a sleeping lion. Have your emotions, but never let your emotions have you. You must be their master, using them as a wardrobe from which you select the face that best serves your strategic purpose in any given situation.
Law number 5, the law of avoiding hatred. And finally, we arrive at the law that holds all the others in balance. This is the emergency brake, the moral compass of the Machiavellian system. The first 4 laws give you power. This law protects you from being consumed by it, because fear that curdles into hatred is a poison. Hatred unites your enemies and gives them a sacred cause, your destruction. So how does one remain powerful and feared without becoming hated? Machiavelli gives a brutally practical guide. A prince must abstain from 2 things, the property and the women of his subjects. Let's translate this for the 21st century. Property symbolizes that which is essential and valuable to others. This means you never steal credit for another's work. You never take credit for your team's accomplishments. You never endanger someone's reputation or livelihood for your own petty gain. When you take what is essential from people, they have nothing left to lose, and they will fight you to the end. Women, or more broadly, their partners and personal lives, symbolize their personal dignity and private honor. Never engage in ad hominem attacks, petty gossip, or personal humiliation. Your firmness must always be directed at an action, a low standard, or a violation of a principle, never at the character of a person. You can be firm with an employee about their poor performance, but if you mock their character, you have sown the seeds of hatred. You can make a tough business decision that people dislike, but if it is seen as just and principled, you will earn respect, not hatred. This distinction is everything. People can tolerate a leader they fear, but whose justice they trust. They will never tolerate a leader they deem petty and vindictive. Wield your power with honor. Be firm, but be fair. This is how you walk the razor's edge between fear and hatred and maintain your balance.
And so our journey concludes. We began in the dark valley of unrewarded goodness. We passed through the cold, calculating heart of Machiavellian philosophy, and we have returned with 5 laws of power as our map. This is not a path to becoming a monster or a tyrant. It is an invitation to shed the dangerous naivete that society has fed us, the belief that affection alone is enough to survive and to thrive. It is not. Respect is the currency of the real world, and that respect is most often born from a healthy, predictable fear. In the end, it all comes down to a single choice. Do you prefer the fragile chains of love held in the hands of others, or the cold, hard armor of respect which you forge and command yourself? And now, before you leave this space, the question turns to you. Be honest with yourself. In what crucial arena of your life, your career, your relationships, your personal path, have you chosen to be loved when you should have commanded respect? And what was the true price of that choice? What opportunities were lost? What part of yourself did you sacrifice on that altar? This is not just a question to be watched. It is a ritual for reflection. Take your answer to the comments below and begin your entry with the keyword Prince to join the discourse. Let the comment section become a council of strategists, of those who are no longer willing to play by a losing set of rules. But remember this: building an external fortress of power and respect is only half the battle. That fortress will collapse from within if its foundations in your own soul are weak and unexplored. If you are now prepared to master the world outside by understanding the laws of power, you must now prepare for a far deeper and perhaps more dangerous journey, the journey inward. In our next videos, we take the torch from Machiavelli and pass it to Carl Jung. We will journey into the darkest, most repressed, and yet most powerful part of your psyche, the shadow. To ensure you do not miss this descent into the self, and to learn how to turn your greatest weakness into your greatest strength, subscribe to Mirror of Wisdom and activate the notification bell. The real battle is about to begin.